Hello again, everyone. This is Jason from the Pinball Party Podcast. We are going to talk about pinball, more specifically, creative pinball. As those who are longtime listeners of the show, or maybe new-time listeners of the show, I take creativity very seriously. As in, I find creative things in this world tantalizing. It's what drives me. Meta, I'm creating this podcast and talking about creating. But yeah, I'm really driven to all things creative. I used to think of that as a negative connotation, but I think it's the shitbags that do that. You know, in middle school, high school, like, I'm an artist. I'm like a creative. It's the people who aren't are usually the ones that say it. It's their identity. And nothing against identity. You know, we can get into the whole psychoanalysis of identity in high school and all that, but it's just all bad. That's kind of what high school is about. Just anyone miss it? Geez, if you do, I don't know what kind of life you grew up in. Hats off to you. Actually, a lot of private school people, I've heard, like high school. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about pinball. Yes, Stranger Things was just announced as a vault. No surprise. But that got me thinking of the creative stuff in pinball. I feel like probably not alone when I think of the movie landscape as like an MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe, cookie cutter trash heap. It's gone downhill as of late. And just like in pinball or anything creative, as a creative myself, again, my creative hat on, listen to me, I'm a creative. That sounds so fucking stupid. You know, it's nothing against people and the hard work they're doing. Loki season 2, you know, kind of getting panned or pick something recently. It's dog shit. That doesn't mean the people that made it are bad at what they do or anything. It's just the nature of the beast. Pinball can sometimes get that way, where it's paint by numbers, another pinball machine, another day, another dollar, but multiple thousands of dollars. But Stranger Things, on the other hand, I would argue, and I don't think it's really hard to do, is one of the most creative pinball machines to come out in a very long time. Now, I'm not the encyclopedia or the end-all be-all on all the quote facts or the opinions I have, because I've only been doing this hardcore. I say this, pinball? I'll say it that way instead of pinball. Pinball? For, I'd say 6 years, where I'm like, all right, I'm obsessively on Pinside and doing all that, buying and selling. Beyond that, again, as a kid, I played it and I liked it, but as a kid, it was more video games obsessive. NES, Genesis, PlayStation 1, that was my kind of trajectory of video games. So I apologize for any facts I get wrong whenever I talk about pinball, because a new thing in the pinball party is I will not be doing editing. I don't, you know, if I'm going to keep doing this, I'm just going to hit record and start going. So yeah, but getting back to Stranger Things, one of the most creative pinball machines I can think of in a very long time. The projector alone is, I don't know the right word. I personally I don't want to say the word genius, because that is just overly used. It's a great, the escalation of the vocabulary over the last 20 years has been nuts. People saying genius all the time, or literally all the time. I think those words have basically the desensitization of words like cool or awesome or no, that happened. Like, no, literally. Like, you have to say it. And genius as well. It's like, oh, that idea is good. You know, in the creation of words, long thousands, millions of years ago, good was like, whoa, okay. And I was like, we needed something better. Great. We need awesome. Now it's like, it's genius. Someone put jelly in peanut butter. That's fucking genius. But Stranger Things projector, as someone who really likes home theater and especially the audio side of it, no video slouch. You know, I'm a plasma boy, an OLED boy, a projector boy with deep blacks. Let's get them inky. Let's get those shits inky. Audio as well. Soundproof the room. Sound panels. 2-inch, 4-inch, bass traps. What are we doing here? You know, So the projector, when I first saw it, I was kind of blown away that that they were able to fit that in there. Now, of course, you look at the white screens, and the contrast is not great because it's the white screens. Well, no, it's not. It's the light output. If we want to get into projector and why is the screens white? Let's say that in Stranger Things, for those uninitiated in the world of home theater and black levels of projection and screens and all that, why wouldn't they make, if we want a good contrast, why wouldn't we make those things black? Well, black does not reflect color well, right? So if you shine a flashlight on black, you're not going to get a lot of, light in return, especially velvet. Where is it? If you want to see the light back, aka a projector, you need white. Oh, it reflects. A poor man's projector screen is your white wall at home. In Stranger Things, it's white because you're not going to be able to jam a super high lumen projector in a pinball machine and keep that thing at cost. So you got to make sacrifices. So the screen is white so that when you're playing, you can see the most amount of light reflected. Now imagine you're playing Stranger Things Premium and LE. I consider, again, Stranger Things Premium and LE, just, to caveat, it's kind of the only one to me. Nothing against the Pro. It's great. But, yeah, I'm talking creativity here. If you're playing in the sun, Stranger Things Premium, with a white screen, it's turned on, you're not going to see it that well. Now, if you replace those white things, the screens in Stranger Things with black, and you put the highest level projector you can in there that shoots laser beams as bright as the sun, it will look amazing. Conversely, if you play Stranger Things in the dark, let's say all the lights are off and you haven't even turned on the machine yet, and you don't even see the white anymore, right? It's so dark in the room, you don't see the projector screens in Stranger Things. That is the deepest level of black that you can literally get in that environment. Because the lights are off, projector shines light on there. So once light's on there, you raise the black levels. But in the dark, the black levels are better, right? Because you're not competing with the outside light, and you have a projector with a white screen that can reflect bright light. So anyway, that's the reason it's white. So that, it's the same way a home theater would be set up. A lot of people out there know that, but you don't want, if you care about the visuals of a projector in a room, you would cover the walls in triple black velvet, and the only thing with reflectiveness would be the screen, so that you can maximize the contrast, minimize the light reflectiveness, and maximize actually the light absorption of the walls, etc. So you've seen in Stranger Things people who have gone down the high contrast gray material, or really digging into that. And those forums are fucking awesome. I love those. And hopefully some of that tech, I'll say tech, gets used. Go check it out in the Pinside forums. If you want to increase the contrast and maybe make those white screens on Stranger Things less of an eyesore in the light, which they can be. But once the lights are off, fuck me, and that shit's incredible. So the creativity of Stranger Things, I encourage you to email in at pinballpartypodcast@gmail.com and tell me of a more creative, if not equally creative, again, subjective, but I really do want to know, pinball thing, and let's make it harder for you to compete. The last 5 years. And let me say this before Jaws comes out. Quickly, email in, a creative thing. And nay, 10 years. Back to Sam. Yeah. I legit want to know about it, because I'm thinking in my head of all the creative things in the last 10 years, and Stranger Things is just, I commend them for taking, a leap of faith, taking chances. Let me just pull up. I don't always memorize who makes all the games. You'd think, you should know every little creator of everything. I know Eddie was on it, but Brian Eddy designed it. Mechanics were Robert Blakeman, software Eddie and Rob. Vinicor, Vinicor. I should have known that. Animation Chuck Ernst. So Robert Blakeman, mechanics. I wonder if he did the projector, or he had anything in that, or Brian Eddy. If anyone knows, please, I'd like to really talk more about the projector aspect of all this. It really intrigues me. or mods that can be done. I mean, if you look at the projector underneath the playfield, it's small. It's like a little tiny thing that you would use. I don't even know when you would use it. One of those like ultra short throw projectors. Now I was texting with Wax on Pinside. Hey Zach, the other. I know too many Zachs. Yeah. I was texting with him about projectors and stuff. We're like, let's toss in specifically a JVC 790R in that Stranger Things, which is a nice home theater projector from a few years back. I was like, well, I think I might buy this because I'm rebuilding a home theater in the basement, going between a 77-inch OLED and a JVC projector. I'm an Epson boy at heart, but hey, let's get those inks, you know. So like let's jam a JVC 790R in the pinball machine, which is about, I don't know, 1.5 feet by 2 feet, and it weighs probably like 50 pounds. It's big as fuck. It won't fit in there. But get an HDMI from the Stern Spike 2 board, put it in there, and see what that can do. I don't think the lens could even go that small, but I think I want to see it happen. Or take the video output into that projector and just put it on the wall. I just want to see like what it actually looks like, what the resolution is and all that. Because they probably don't need it that high. But yes, super creative in that game. My God. And that's only the projector. UV light kit. Now, UV light kit essentially is a UV set of lights on each ramp that in certain modes, the upside down mode, those things turn on, everything else, well, you know, everything else turns off, and you see the UV ink on the playfield light up, trying to mimic in the show. If somehow any of you haven't watched the show, that's totally fine. The upside down is an alternate reality, an evil alternate reality, essentially. It's moody, it's mystic, and the pinball machine puts you there. I mean, seriously, so cool. And, you know, the game didn't sell well in the beginning because of the rules, and I won't say why because I didn't play it much in the beginning. I played it, I would say like 6 months in, once it started to get like, oh shit, now this is pretty good. And I had a premium for a while. And the UV kit, the sound with it, like it, man, it does it. Ken Hale, sound. I got the sheet pulled up, so I'm looking at this. The sound with the UV light kit really dominates that whole aspect of it. So you have this projector that is second to none, one of the most creative and cool things ever. You have the UV light kit, which was an add-on. Complain if you want about the price. Who cares, right? Especially something like this. Complain about a topper, bro and broette. Topper's $2,000, but oh, how dare a UV light kit for a few $100 that changes literally the game and one of the most innovative things ever. Oh, I can't be bothered like in the beginning. Man, come on. UV light kit, amazing. Have to have it. Projector, luckily, is built in. Just those two things alone. What are we doing here? How are we even arguing? I am dumbfounded that game didn't sell that well in the beginning. Whatever. It's the way of things, the way of the force, right? They fixed the rules apparently in that first 6 months. I was unaware. It was probably very shallow. And Stranger Things, is it the best theme ever? From a 20,000 foot view, no. And I think the projector really lends itself well. If you took the theme aside and I walked up into an arcade or someone's house and I didn't see this at the theme, but I saw a game with a projector screen, I would be like, oh, is this Jaws? Is this Jurassic Park? Is this Star Wars? Is this Avatar? Is this, I'm thinking of like blockbuster or Titanic, movie, genre-bending, world pop culture reference, huge movies that you just think movies. Stranger Things, I don't think of movies. Yeah, I think of like an updated Goonies that's a little darker. Tries to be all 80s at once, and in a lot of ways it succeeds. But it worked well in there. It worked well in there because of the mood and the way that it kind of brought the mysteriousness of the whole world into it. So the projector and the UV kit, and then a little sprinkle on top is the bullshit mode. Bullshit. For those who don't know, there is a mode where once you hit it, I think it's every switch. Let me Google it because it's been a while because it's an expensive game. For those who don't know, bullshit mode. Yeah, is it bullshit? I think it's bullshit. Yeah. Bullshit. And it's all these different call outs when they hit it. Hilarious. One of the only times ever I've been playing a game by my lonely self, as most of us do in our quote collection. Oh, here's my expensive thing I'm staring at and playing with. I'm in a room by myself. Lights are out because the projector is aforementioned. I get to the bullshit mode and I start laughing because I had no idea it was in there. So you go from this very moody, dun, 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 the darkness has you, oh my God. And then bullshit. bullshit. I laughed. One of the, if any of you have a when you were by yourself moment that a game made you laugh or exclaim, let's say, in any sort of, in any way, negative or positive, but by yourself, where, when you laugh by yourself, like that's legit funny. In Stranger Things, I really appreciated that. UV light kit, projector, bullshit mode, and then the Demogorgon. Now, bash toys in the middle, up the center is nothing new. Brian Eddy, Attack from Mars, Medieval Madness is not something new, but it's like it's akin to like a jump button in a platformer video game. Like, okay, I know what I'm doing. Cool. This is a common language in pinball. So putting a bash toy up there is really cool. I think now we're talking about escalating words. The genius thing of the Demogorgon, the monster in the middle, the bash target in the center, the ramp is cool, right? It gets you up there like, oh, that's kind of neat. But that if you hit it in the mouth, that's what she said, with your ball or balls, that's what she said. It's at least the first one. I don't remember if the subsequent, it damages it tenfold, basically. One shot in the mouth kills. One shot in the mouth. One shot in the mouth is the name of this podcast. One shot kills it. So you can either bash it and hit it in the arms or the chest, blah, and it'll hurt the fucker. But if you one shot it in the mouth, you'll destroy it. So there's multiple times you have to kill the Demogorgon. I just can't remember past 2 or 3 if the shot in the mouth does single shot kills or not. Please correct me or don't, because I don't care. So I think that's very creative of giving a bash toy different ways you can smash into it, into the mouth. Projector, UV kit, bullshit mode, one shot in the mouth. So to me, just that's outside of the code, which is now good. It's outside of the show. It's outside of the theme. It's outside of the feel, the flippers. Of course, there's some negatives in the game. The TK lock, and mine didn't work that great. I disabled it because it just didn't work that great. But let's say that worked perfectly. The TK lock, just for sake of argument, is another, wow, that's cool. Because 11 in the show, the girl, the shaved head little lady, is a telekinesis wizard, basically, for lack of a better phrase. And so, think of someone stopping something with their mind. So she's stopping these balls, TK, telekinesis, lock in the game, stops it midair. Oh, it's magic. You stop 3, they sit there in the back. There's your ball locks. So let's say they work perfectly. That's another, like, geez, what else are you cramming into this game? So they don't always work either from a combination of the magnet not timing exactly, which from my experience is not the case. It's more the little lift ramp, the little metal rod that lifts up to ramp the ball into the TK lock. So if you disable it, it's just like a pro and whatever. So no harm, no foul, but it'd be nice if they fix it or fixed it for this. Stranger Things has some of the most creative aspects of any pinball machine in the last 10 years, in my opinion. In the Pinball Party Podcast's opinion, there. It got me to think, what other creative, whirlwind, we can think of, that, but what is another very you don't see that every day in a pinball machine? I really would love it if you emailed in an example or 2 or 5 that really stuck out to you as these are innovations to me, or what really keeps me in a game, whether the rules are shit, the game is shit, but this little thing, it keeps me going. The other innovation, I'll say, creative, that out of all of it, all pinball that I've played, that has stuck with me as another, that is, Again, I'm not saying the word genius, but it is very in that realm of you tickled on something. For me, was a very specific aspect of Lord of the Rings. Yeah, it's my favorite theme of any pinball machine and could arguably be my favorite pinball machine, but that's not weird. A lot of us, it's a great game. The rules are great. The theme is second to none for a lot of us. And all that aside, does it have as many innovations as Stranger Things? Maybe at the time. I wasn't doing it nuts back then. But when I got it, and I got the machine at home. Oh, I love the theme. I love, cleaning the game. It's one of those games where you like to kind of just like, oh, I'll change it to LEDs. I'll change it back to incandescent. And for what it's worth, incandescent is the way to go, in my opinion. I've done the LED OCD board. I've hooked it up. I've used the program. I've changed all the percentages of how each light glows. I've gone down to 7%. For those who know it, you know what I'm talking about. I still think incandescent is the way to go in that game. But the specific creative thing to me in that game is the Ents mode. I think it's just War of the Ents. So the modes in that game are when you get 3 elf rings or just a new ball will qualify you a mode. So there's these modes on the back ring. A lot of you know what I'm talking about, but for those who don't, it's just the modes in the game. They all have something to do with something that happened in the movie. The wargs or battles Sauron or whatever. They're all in there. And you beat them all and it's there and back again. It's great little mini wizard mode. But why the War of the Ents to me was such a, okay. There's a few factors in it. One, the way the playfield is set up, the War of the Ents mode starts and the diverter opens up. So basically you're trying to hit it in a goblet hole, a hole. You're trying to put your ball in a hole again. In the back, in Orthanc being Sauron's tower. So you're hitting a ball into there, and then on the screen, you see one of the Ents, one of the big tree dudes, take a big rock, looks like a pinball kind of, and throw it at Orthanc. So the video is doing exactly what you're doing kind of in the game. You're hitting a ball into Orthanc, the building, and then on the screen, the Ent is grabbing a rock and throwing it at it. Like, oh, that's very kind of clever. And that happens in the movie. But the other part that really made this, all right. For those who know, I'll say the movies, because the books split this a little differently. At the end, so at the beginning of Return of the King is when this happens in the movies, in the extended edition, where you see, it happens at the end of Two Towers and finishes at the beginning of Return of the King is what I'm getting at. It's for that little storyline of destroying Sauron's castle, the Ents kick the shit out of it with rocks and do all sorts of stuff. But in the game, you hit the ball in the hole. It hits Orthanc, right? And then you see it on the video screen. Then the ball in the game literally pops up into the Path of the Dead and comes down and you get Path of the Dead souls. 500, you get up to 5,000 souls, you Return of the King multi-ball. So you see that it's actually narratively congruent. It's in line with how the story progresses. In the pinball machine, you hit Orthanc, and then it goes in the Path of the Dead and you build up the souls for Return of the King. Just like in the movie, before you can progress to that part of the story, you have to destroy Orthanc. And I don't know if that was a happy accident or not. I want to say not, because it's also how you start Return of the King multi-ball is to take that same path into that gobble hole. So I think they linked it specifically. And if not, hats off to that accident. One of the most creative through lines in a pinball machine, and I think a lot of people who either don't know the movies or books obsessively miss that kind of look what you did. The other part of it, which I don't think is as strong, but is equally as this game just really, really ties the room together, is how you qualify Fellowship multi-ball. Two Towers, whatever. But Fellowship multi-ball, it's nothing, to use this word, ingenious or whatever, but it's just like, oh, that's just nice how that works. Fellowship of the Ring, the movie, right? You have 9 folk, short folk, very short folk with beards, elfin folk, humans, a wizard, going on this quest, the Fellowship, to destroy the ring. You have 9 of them, the Fellowship, aka you get it and beating you to death with what the Fellowship is. 9 of them. In the game, Fellowship of the Ring multi-ball. How do you get it? You collect the 9 Fellowship. Each Fellowship has their own shot. It's just satisfying to someone who likes the story and knows it and likes simplicity, keep it simple, stupid, of good rules. Collect the 9 Fellowship to start the Fellowship multi-ball. And I almost took it for granted the first couple times. Like, oh, that's clever, but also like, nah, that's nice. It feels good. It's like a nice, warm cup of a hot cocoa in the winter, or that's what it feels like. Marshmallows, the little ones, and as a kid, the multicolor ones, but actually they kind of taste like shit. That's what it feels like. 2 Towers multi-ball, spell and keep a few times, chopping wood in a way. Could argue that a lot of that game is chopping wood, but I think the Fellowship, collecting 9, is great. Doesn't touch the War of the Ents mode that leads you into collecting the souls for Return of the King. Fucking chef's kiss to that. I think third runner-up for me in that game, tied, is the Gollum multi-ball, which is getting and qualifying, who cares, but, once you're in it, some of the points are double, some of the points are half. Smeagol, Gollum, 2 separate identities, one good, one bad. It's clever. It's cool. It's more in the clever field. Creative, yes, but clever. And the other one that is, I guess I would say, it's not as good as the Ents, War of the Ents, but it's closer. Now, this one's second place, is Destroying the Ring. Destroying the Ring, magnets were not novel at this point, but it really took the source material seriously and thought, how can we make this actual part of the movie a creative and like fulfilling real life? How can we make Lord of the Rings real in the pinball world? What a question that is like, it's simple, but like starting like, I don't know. Seems like a fool's errand. You could take the cheap way out and do like Stern Star Wars, like fucking whatever. I don't know. Just put something in it. Put the hyper loop. Yeah, sure. Because hyperdrives are so much more important than the force in a game. Instead of doing force stuff, let's do, no. Lord of the Rings took that question of how can we make Lord of the Rings into a pinball machine? Very similar to how they took it seriously in the movies. Peter Jackson and team had this decree of we're acting like this really happened in history. We're taking it that serious. And I think it comes across in the movies. Very similar to how the books came across. It started as a language and then it grew from The Hobbit and it grew backstory similarly and Tolkien some other time. But in the pinball machine, for Destroy the Ring mode, again, qualifying it, who cares? It's not why this matters. But once it starts, and you have to hit the 4 shots. Again, that doesn't really matter to me. What matters to me is that when you destroy the ring, or how you destroy the ring is, if you set it up correctly in the settings, I think by default it's not this, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but in my opinion, the correct way is it's either the 2-ball or 1-ball. I forget which setting actually does what I'm about to say, but it's where you hit the center shot as your second to last shot, and the ball hovers in the middle of the magnet. It just hovers there. And what you're trying to do is knock that son of a bitch into Mount Doom. And that, my friend, is when your heart starts a-pumping. Because 3 things. Do my flippers have enough power to hit that fucking shot? And which flipper am I going to do to hit it? Because sometimes people will be like, oh, well, it's the left flipper is the easiest way. Nah. It's the right flipper that technically has the most power to kind of hit that, and it's a narrower shot. And it's a son of a bitch when your flipper fade's going. You've done all this shit. You've chopped all the wood in the world. You've chopped down all the redwoods. You've hit the 4 shots. You hit the ball. So now the ring is just dangling there. You see him, Gollum on the edge, and you're like, oh, I'm going to kill you, you bitch. And I think I've said this multiple times. The amount of how many times I've been like, Dana, like I got it there. It's floating. I just want her to see it. Because for those who destroy the ring knows what happens. I won't say for those who don't. I would encourage, especially new players or people who haven't done that quote wizard mode, which is relatively easy to get to do it and then see what happens when you do it. I want her to see it because it's one of those moments like, fuck. So you get the ball, it's hovering there, and what do you do to knock something in? You literally knock something in. So the next shot ball hits that ball out of the magnet, and then you destroy the ring, and things happen. And I mean that. It's not just like, here's points. You'll see. But I've gotten there so many. I've destroyed the ring countless times, but I can never get Dana to see it. Every time. It's relatively easy to get there for people that play the game enough. But every goddamn time I get it there, and I'll trap the ball up and get in here. Hey, I want to see it. And she knows at this point, like, yeah, it's not going to happen because I'm just cursed. The flipper power will just be dog shit, and I just won't be able to hit it. And just like, whatever. Eventually. I mean, Dana has seen 7 to 8 Lord of the Rings machines come in and out of this house, from beat up routed ones to normal versions with literally 40 plays, which was pretty nice. To an LE, to modded every mod known to man, Color DMD, Palantir, Mount Doom, Pin Sound, multiple speakers. It's all been done. It's all been done in these parts. She's seen the Dick Beard and the LE. She's seen all that, but she hasn't seen me destroy the ring. God damn it. Those are the ones that came to mind when I tried to come up with what even touches Stranger Things creativity. And I know there's more. There's other sound examples I have in my head of creativity with sound, which it's not always a mech. It's not always a story, through line with modes. So please write in, tell me what you think of what some of the most creative moments in pinball have been. I want to hear examples. And for those out there who are having a good time pre-ordering your Stranger Things premium, whatever it would be, do you know where to buy it? Because if you don't, I know exactly where you should go. And that's Flippin' Out Pinball.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When I buy my pinball shit, I buy from Flippin' Out. From Topper's Art Blade Premiums, I've got it figured out. Flippin' Out. Yeah. Figured out. Oh, yeah. When I think of pinball, I think Flippin' Out. Oh, yeah. Flippin' Out. Yeah. Figured out. Oh, yeah. When I buy, I buy from Flippin' Out.
Oh, yeah. Buy from Flippin' Out. Zach, Craig, Nicole, Craig? Greg, Bobby. Greg, probably Zach's dad. They got 1,000 kids, a couple dogs work there now. I think Joel does some contract work, but he gets payment and drugs. For those who don't know, Joel Engelberth, huge heroin addict. It sucks. It's sad, but it's the truth. But yeah, I think he gets paid in heroin. I've checked out some flapping out lately. Stern put Joel's Venom tutorial in the Stern email. Dude, that's awesome, man. When they sent out the get connected with no. It was the Stern State of the Union the other day. Yeah, when you click on it in the email, for those even if you just want to see Joel on sternpinball.com, it's pretty awesome. And flipping out, But his Venom tutorial is in the YouTube clip is inside the Stern State of the Union, and then below that is the flipping out stream with Dwight Sullivan. Yeah, man, that's awesome. Congrats, Joel. It's awesome to see you making a lot of headway in the pinball here. But yeah, good luck on that heroin habit. No, he doesn't do heroin. I don't think, but wouldn't that be funny? The guy, he's awesome dude, just to give him a little shit. Doesn't swear a lot, doesn't, a lot of controversial, but let's just imagine he's just this full-blown heroin addict. Not to make light of it. It's not. I've known addicts and all that, but, in a world I live in, that's what I like to picture. So, Joel, let's help get him off the hard drugs and go support him and the Flippin' Out crew. Go give him like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff, Flippin' Out Pinball. And go check out all the guys and gals on the Pinball Network. I don't think the Pinball show is happening for a couple weeks, so that's a bummer. But they have great stuff over there. And as always, the Buffalo Pinball guys. And last but not least, the Electric Bat Podcast. Kale and Rachel are doing some awesome shit. Go find out what's earning. Let's find out what Stranger Things does once they get it. I assume they'll get it. And we'll see you next time on the Pinball Party Podcast. Bye-bye.
I'm higher than a fucking kite. It always gives me good insight. And I'm bleeding from my eyes. And I don't know why I'm so surprised when I see. I don't wanna be dead wrong. I'm better than streetwise degenerate in my mind. I know none of my friends see the jealousy. Streetwise degenerates, I don't mind. I met a stranger by the docks. Dirty clothes, holes in his socks. And I was sickened by the joyful look he had in his eyes. And I don't wanna be surprised when I'm on this trip. I don't wanna be dead wrong. I'm better than streetwise degenerates in my mind. I don't know.